Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with another episode of Entitled Parents. Today's episode is gonna be a banger and I know you're gonna love this one. I've got something special in store for you guys today, so if we can hit 5,000 likes on this video in the next 24 hours, I will make a video every single day for the next week. Once you've liked the video, all you've got to do is sit back, relax, and get annoyed at some entitled parents. I'm a 19-year-old female and I'm my parents' second child. I have 3 brothers, they're 21, 13 and 7, and I have a sister who is 16 years old. We grew up poor, and our parents were often dependent on financial help from relatives and friends for raising us. This is because even though my dad had a mediocre job and my mum doesn't work, they just kept on popping out one kid after another. My parents are very religious and believe that children are a gift from God. Personally, I think that's total BS. My parents' reproductive choices wouldn't bother me if it hadn't caused mine and my siblings' lives to turn to crap. While growing up, we never had new clothes or toys. We had to accept handouts from family members who were better off. We never went out and did anything fun, and to top it off, we were well aware that the rest of the family looked down on us for constantly asking for handouts. Now, my brother and I have managed to get into good colleges and are looking forward to a future that would be better than our parents' lives. He and I were staying at our parents' place for a while due to the lockdown. One morning, my parents called all 5 of us into the living room. Mum said that she had great news. The smile that was forming on my face died a quick death when she said, "We're pregnant." I lost my temper. I asked them how they could be so stupid and irresponsible. Do they not have enough financial troubles already that they have to bring in another mouth to feed? My older brother tried to calm me down, but I was livid. After a lifetime of scarcity because my parents' stupidity, they still hadn't learned their lesson. I asked them how they planned to provide for the kid, and my dad told me that I would have to give up the money that our great uncle had left for me. He had left all 5 of us some money which only we could access when we turned 18, and I said to him, hell no. That money would help me pay for my college expenses. He called me selfish for not being there for the family, and I told them that if they couldn't provide for the kid, then they shouldn't have it. My mum started crying and called me a heartless monster. Dad told me that he was disgusted with me, and I told them that there was no way I was going to pay for their stupidity. What I was really worried about was my siblings' lives getting even worse. My older brother and I have escaped our parents' clutches, but the others, especially my younger sister, will be expected to help take care of this baby. No teenager deserves to have their adolescence ruined by diapers and a screaming baby. I know what it's like, as I had to go through all of that. It was expected of me to be an unpaid nanny to my youngest brother and sister. My older brother could go out with his friends and have fun, but I had to stay home and help give baths and feed the toddlers. I decided to get some family members involved so they could talk some sense into my parents. So I called my mum's maternal cousin. She's one of my favourite people, and when I told her that my mum and dad were having another kid, she reacted with, "What? Again?" I told her everything and how my parents expected me to hand over my inheritance. She said she was going to speak to my parents and told me not to sign over anything. I promised her I wouldn't, but of course I wouldn't have done so anyway. I also called 2 of my first cousins, one of whom is an accountant, so she could explain to my parents how much of a financial liability this baby is going to be and try to convince them to give it up for adoption. I moved out of my parents' home a few days ago, as I was only staying there till the lockdown was relaxed, but I just can't bear to listen to my mum's nagging about how this baby is a blessing and that I wanted it gone. I've moved into a friend's basement for a minimal rent. My mum's cousin paid them a visit about a week ago and tried to tell them that they weren't doing this child any favors by bringing it into a life of poverty. My mum was very rude to my aunt and told her that a woman who chooses to remain barren will never understand a mother's love. My aunt never wanted children, nor did she have any, which is one of the reasons why she's my favorite. My dad told her to get out. My aunt told me that there was nothing that she could do, but she did try. I didn't blame her. The cousin tried to explain the economic impact that this kid would have, and my mum cried about how everyone was trying to take away her baby. The intervention didn't do a thing, so now I've decided to cut contact with my parents. I just can't watch my family slide further and further into a hellhole. I'll be maintaining contact with my sister, the 16-year-old, just to make sure my parents can't brainwash her. My oldest brother is going to stay in touch with all of them, which is a good thing, as he can act as a link between me and the other siblings if my parents ever forbid them from talking to me. Otherwise, I'm done with these people. You know, a story like this is it's kind of a really tricky one, right? Because I guess at the end of the day, they are entitled to have a child if they want to have a child. The problem is there are so many people that bring children into this world when they simply cannot afford them. And not that it's always going to be the case, but a lot of the time those children don't have the best upbringing. Like I said, that's not always the case. But in a case like this, where they're saying that they literally have to take their daughter's inheritance money, just goes to show that they can't afford to have the child in the first place, and really shouldn't actively be trying to have children. For me personally, I'm not going to judge on this one, but what I will be judgmental about is them trying to take their daughter's money away to have a child that they can't afford to have. So, a few years ago, a bunch of my friends and I went to see Anastasia on Broadway. It was amazing and a ton of fun, but also led to this encounter. During intermission, a bunch of us went to get in line for the bathrooms. One of my friends, who we'll call M, had osteosarcoma in her leg when she was younger, and as a result, has a metal rod instead of her bone and walks with a noticeable limp. There was a line for disabled people and families, and Em and her mum got in line. A few people behind them, an older lady was pushing like a full body wheelchair. I don't know the technical name of it, sorry, but she was with what I'm assuming is her severely disabled daughter. She was in the process of yelling at everyone in front of her because her daughter deserved to be at the front of the line. Em's mum is not the kind to be pushed around, and she told the woman that Em was disabled too and that she could wait her turn. The woman went ballistic and yelled, "Your daughter is not disabled. Stop effing lying." This went on for a bit, where the woman would yell at Em for not being disabled, and Em's mum would stand her ground and tell the woman that she was not moving and that her and her daughter could wait just like everybody else. Eventually they came out of the bathroom and Em was in tears at that point. Em is one of the sweetest people I know, and there is no way that she deserved to be yelled at for not being disabled when she doesn't even have a bone in one of her legs because they removed it because of cancer. As sad as this is gonna sound, these kind of stories bring me back to the good old days of entitled parent stories. Like yeah, obviously the premise of this story is pretty messed up, but this entitled parent is one of those OG true entitled parents who genuinely just for no reason whatsoever think that they and their children are entitled to everything that the world has to offer. This type of entitled parent I genuinely think would be better off just staying inside where they can never come into contact with anyone, because all they're gonna do is hurt people's feelings and show the world just how entitled they really are. A little over 2 years ago, I won a raffle at my job for an all expenses paid family vacation. It wasn't some super fancy prize to Disneyland or anything crazy like that. It was just a nice 3-day stay at this little beach house in place. It was for 4 people, and I asked around and found out that the package deal cost just under $400. Pricey for me, but not so much for the older, more experienced co-workers that I have. I of course asked my boyfriend at the time to go, but he couldn't take the time off school. I'd wanted to take my single friends and make it a girls trip type deal, but they either couldn't because of work or other IRL responsibilities at the time, which I was sad about but understood. Since that plan was a bust, I decided to see if my sister and her 2 little kids wanted to come. I figured they'd enjoy it and so would my sister. And after all, I didn't want to waste the tickets. Well, I went down to visit my family that weekend, intent on asking my sister if they'd want to come, but the longer I was there, the more I hated the idea. By the time I was packing up to go home, I knew that I wasn't inviting them. I love my niece and nephew, but they were super bratty back then. They're doing much better these days, but it was because my sister never disciplined them. Ever. I love them, but she lets them get into everything and never watches them unless someone, being either me or our mum, yells at her to get off her butt and watch them. Visiting is always a chore because I end up watching them to give my mum a break. It is pathetic, and every time I visit, my sis dumped them on me the entire time, just like usual, and by that point, I knew if they came, it would turn into me babysitting them while she had a vacation. So I didn't mention the trip and just said goodbye before leaving. The next day, I called my good friend Megan because she has 2 kids who are older than my sister's kids and very well behaved. And she's a single working mum who I figured could use the vacay. I asked her if she'd be free for XYZ days and she was like, yeah. So I offered to invite her along with me on this vacation if she would pay for the gas to get us all to and from there, while I would pay for the food for us to and from there, and she happily agreed. We went and had a blast. I got a pretty good tan, we ate lots of buffet food, swam at the beach, and did fun family kid-friendly activities all weekend before coming back. Her kids are super sweet, and it didn't feel like I was babysitting at all, even when I was helping Megan with the kids. After I got home, I posted some pictures that I took. Nothing in your face, just a couple cute ones of me and us on the beach. And before lunch even rolled around on my first day back at work, my sister was blowing up my phone. I knew that ignoring her calls would just prolong the inevitable, so I answered. I barely got past my hey before she was asking me how the hell I could afford a vacation. I told her that it was a raffle prize and she asked who won, me or my friend. And so I told her me, as I don't enjoy lying because it stresses me out. She proceeded to flip her crap, demanding to know why I hadn't invited her. I was honest and said it was because I didn't want to end up babysitting her kids for my entire vacation. She got mad and called me an a-hole, then said that I knew that she needed a vacation, then hung up on me before I could reply. I just sighed and continued working. Later on, while I was leaving work, our mum called me asking why I'd promised my niece and nephew that I'd take them on a vacation. I said that I'd never even told them that I would, and I hadn't even spoken to them since the last time I visited. It turns out my sister had told them that we were all supposed to go on a beach vacation together, but I ruined it, and now they didn't get to go. So my niece and nephew sobbed all day, and it took our mum ages to get them to stop crying long enough to explain what was wrong. I told my mum my side of the story, and she said that I was mean to not invite my sister, but she dropped it after I said that I told her that I didn't invite them because I didn't feel like babysitting my whole vacation. Mum also tore into my sister for lying to her and also hurting her kids' feelings like that, getting their hopes up about a vacation, then dashing them by saying that I ruined it and they couldn't go. I wasn't there, but mum said that my sister threw a huge fit and basically trash talked me all afternoon. The only thing I really felt bad about was my sister getting my niece and nephew's hopes up the way she did. That's the exact reason that I never said anything to them. But to cheer them up, I took them the next weekend to a kids' play place. They're always on their best behavior with me because they know that I don't play like their mum, and I will turn my car around and take them home if they're bratty when they're with me. So they got to eat pizza, play games, climb this huge indoor jungle gym thing, and even ride a couple of kiddie rides. I also sat down with them while they ate and explained that the trip I went on was for me and my friend, and they wouldn't have liked it because it got so hot and sweaty. They handled it very well with no tears or anything. You know, thinking about this story, it's kind of sad that this is how you have to feel about your own sister. Like, don't get me wrong, I fully understand that not every sibling gets along, and that's fine. But the fact that the sister's attitude directly impacts the relationship that the OP is able to have with her sister's kids, and therefore the kids' ability to have an aunt that they can rely in and go and see whenever they want, is what makes a story like this really sad. OP really does sound like she cares for her sister's kids, and I just hope that some of that influence from the OP can rub off on the kids, because if not, they may just grow up as entitled as their mother. So this one happened a couple of days ago, and I just got my friend's consent to post this story. My friend has a small YouTube channel, and she posts vlogs and videos where she talks about her life and all kinds of stuff. One of the videos was tips for dealing with mental health problems and anxiety. It had a very clear title and wasn't misleading or advertised for children. Yet, the most ridiculous thing happened. A distant relative of hers gave her a call, i.e. the entitled mum, and told her that her kid watched the video and she didn't want him watching it because it's disturbing content, so my friend should stop posting these kinds of things and not include content of this kind. It was more like she demanded that she stop posting videos like this because she didn't want her kid to watch it, instead of just not letting her kid, who is 13 by the way, watch YouTube unattended if she's so worried. My friend just told her that she is not responsible to what her kid is watching and it's her job to watch over him, so she's going to continue to upload these videos, which can actually help some people. My friend and I are still shocked that she even called and asked her to do that. Bro, imagine not wanting to parent your kid, so instead of doing that, you go to a YouTuber who is a distant relative of yours and telling them to stop making their own type of videos because they don't want their son watching them. Like, not only do you have to be an awfully entitled parent, you just have to be a genuinely awful parent to be like this in the first place. Good on this person for sticking their ground against the entitled parent, but honestly, I don't see this or anything else being able to change an entitled parent that's this far gone. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of Entitled Parents. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video as much as I enjoyed making it, don't forget to smash that like button, and just a reminder that if we hit 5,000 likes in the next 24 hours, I'll be uploading a video every day this week. I'm gonna keep this outro nice and short. I do just want to say though, if you are new around here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. I love each and every single one of you, and I'll be doing something very special for you guys very soon. What you are going to see on your screen right now are 2 of my awesome videos, one of which I would highly suggest you click on and go down that rabbit hole of entitled parents. Otherwise though, I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Entitled Parents. Bye.